Hello again, welcome back everyone. Liquor Hound here with you. Thank you for joining me once again for another Spirit Review video. And today we'll be taking a look at the latest release from Macallan, the Classic Cut Single Malt Scotch. Now the Classic Cut is a 2017 limited release from them. It is bottled at 58.4% ABV. Retail pricing on it is right around $100. Now, I happened to receive this bottle as a surprise gift in the mail the other day, and I was kind of like, wow, okay, cool. I'll check it out, see what I think. First thing I started doing was looking over the label in the box, and something struck me because I had been anticipating this bottle since I'd first heard about it. And the reason I was anticipating it so much was because I was kind of looking at the old Macallan Cask Strength that they discontinued in the mid-2000s, and I was kind of like, you know, this is going to be cool. It's going to be, you know, kind of paying homage to the old stuff, kind of taking off where they used to be. And then I noticed there's no wording on it anywhere that it says Cask Strength. So I was like, why wouldn't you want to play off what you had built? But they didn't put it on there. And my only guess for why that is because they added some water to it. So probably when they did the vatting of all the casks, it was a higher ABV than they wanted to bottle at. And so they added some water to bring it down to 58.4. Now, not necessarily a bad thing. Maybe it was much too higher to bottle for, you know, taste reasons. So they brought it down here. So for that reason, no Cask Strength. Okay, no big deal. Other thing that I noticed on the front label, which was a little disturbing because I had not ever seen this on a Macallan before, was where it says that it's, I think it says, matured exclusively in hand-picked, seasoned sherry oak casks. Seasoned is the key word there, because when you look at all the older Macallans, they always talk about how they were exclusively matured in selected sherry oak casks from Jerez, Spain. So that means the older Macallans, they spent their maturation years in casks that held sherry all their lives. So once they got done aging sherry in them, they dumped them out, put in the whiskey. That's how you got phenomenal Macallan from the old days, all right? Because they were rich. Macallan grew its name because of the heavy sherry influence, because of the great casks they were using. And the old Macallans like we have here, this late 90s bottling of a round red label Macallan, very, very rich in sherry. So now we've gotten to the point where sherry casks are in such high demand that not even Macallan can get sherry casks anymore to keep up with that demand. So they're now seasoning casks. All right, so what is seasoning? Well, you put sherry in an oak cask, and hopefully you fill it. This is what I'm hoping, at least. And then you let it sit there for several months to infuse and kind of season that barrel before dumping it out. And they probably reuse that sherry into another barrel, and they just keep going that process to prep barrels, essentially. All right? But anyway, enough about all that. We're going to see if it's any good, okay? So here we are, the Macallan Classic Cut, bottled at 58.4%, $100. The one thing I will notice is that the color on it, maybe if I turn the bottle sideways you can see it a little better, is more bronze. So it's golden with a twinge of red in it, whereas the old Cask Strength's deep red, all right? Big difference there. That's going to go back to that type of cask that was being, you know, aging sherry his whole life versus being seasoned with sherry. All right, to the nose. All right. Much different than I'd expect, because coming from the old style, but not bad. It's just it's less of a sherry influence. So here we have a lot of caramel on the nose. Yeah, a lot of caramel. Maybe a little bit of like a combination of it's a very vibrant-y, fruity nose. So it's not, these are dark and dense. When you get those heavy sherried whiskeys, they're always big and fig, plum, raisins, you know, that type of thing. This one's not so much. This one's more almost like a little bit of a golden apple, golden raisin combination, maybe a little apricot, a little bit of an underripe pear, grape skins almost, I would call them, yeah, grape skins, a little bit of cinnamon, and then a little bit of, there's a noticeable amount of oak, but there's a twinge, a little bit of a vanilla underneath it all. And maybe even a little leather in there as well. All right, but much, much lighter on the nose. And a matter of fact, when I was actually, because I've been pouring this for a few friends, and kind of getting their opinions on it. And the one thing that one of my buddies had mentioned, and he actually has distilled, he does distillation, and he was kind of noticing that when he nosed it, he was like, right away, he knew exactly what it was, why it nosed like this. And he said it was because it's the esters are coming from the heads, so they did a wider cut. He says whenever you cut, you know, the first part of the distillation, the heads, is usually where you get those really bad alcohols, and you got to cut that off. But if you dig, and then you get to the hearts. But if you widen the cut a little bit into the heads, a little earlier you start making your cut, you'll get some of those estery notes, those really, really fruity, vibrant fruit notes. And that's kind of, he knows it, and he's like, yeah, that's esters from the head cut. And it's not necessarily a bad thing, it's just different than what you're used to seeing. So that's where all those real vibrant fruits are coming from. It's just from a wider cut, okay? All right, now when I compare this to the Macallan, this is a 59% bottling from roughly around 2009. Let's see. Oof, yeah, much more sherry. This is sherried whiskey. Here we have the raisin, the fig, the dates, plum type thing, all in combination. A little cocoa powder, a little dark chocolate in here, cinnamon for sure. Maybe almost baking spices, because it's not just cinnamon. Maybe even a twinge of orange oil. Yeah. But really, really nice. And now we're going to go back to the old round red label Macallan Cask Strength, bottled at 58.6%. When this was on the shelf, it was about $50. Ugh, need that time machine already. But wow, yeah, this is great Macallan. This is heavily sherried. It is even more fig, more of those dark fruits that you get here. It's just more intense with the dark fruits. The spices are still here, but I think the cinnamon is even a little lower than it was in here. This was kind of cinnamon and baking spices. This is just like a combination of all those spices. Perfect balance. Milk and dark chocolate. It's very, very kind of sweet on the nose. Old leather, old tobacco even on this one. At least on the nose. Almost like a cigar humidor in the background. Little, maybe almost cedarish. Very, very nice, complex nose. All right, let's get back over here. The classic cut. Okay, yeah, totally different animal. This one's more malty, vibrant fruits, almost like a, again, we went through that apricots, golden raisins, golden apples, underripe pear, a little lemon, maybe like a lemon oil as well on the nose. But not really, and there's a little bit of red fruits in here, but nothing like the old Macallan, not sherried heavy. This is almost like a, yeah, more ex-bourbon barrel is what it kind of feels like. All right. Man, okay, nice. It's not horrible. It's just different. And what I mean by that is there's a big vanilla and a caramel kick to it. There's a sweetness in that aspect. A little bit of a, all those fruits that were on the nose kind of come through on the palate. There's a twinge of a soured fruit note as well. But it's not a lot, it's just a little soured in there. Could be from that fermentation, that heads, a little bit deep, you know, cutting into the heads just a little bit, giving you that little bit of those sour, fruity esters. But on the mid palate, you get that cinnamon kind of being, adding some intensity. It actually shows that 58.4% ABV, mostly on the mid palate, where that cinnamon kind of swells. Big malt characteristic though as well. And then as it rolls over past that mid palate with that cinnamon, a little bit of again, cocoa powder, a little bit of that bitterness, and leather. Really nice. Actually, that's a pretty nice leather on the back end. Very enjoyable like that. Overall, I think it's almost like a hybrid. So don't think of it as the old Macallan Cask Strength. Don't even think about it like that. Think about it more like if you took a ex-bourbon barrel, the fine oak collection, because there's an intense oak as well going through. But think of the fine oak collection that never sees sherry, with just a little bit of sherry in it. And that's kind of what we have here. But bottled at a 58.4% ABV, so much higher. So that's kind of impressive. Overall, it's enjoyable. It's just different. Now, would I buy it over some of the edition number 1, 2, or 3 that I've seen out there? I think it's a toss-up. I think the 1, 2, and 3 are going to be more balanced. They're lower ABV, but they're very drinkable, balanced, sweet whiskeys, a little more complex than probably this one. But this one's going to give you the intensity. So if you're looking for that, then don't be afraid to buy this one. Considering that, like I said, all the other Macallans out there on the shelves are not high ABV. If you want to see what Macallan is almost like, cask strength, even though this is just a little smidge under, then this is going to be, your go-to. Now, when I taste the Macallan from, I guess this one's 09, 59%. Yeah, viscosity-wise, much more viscous here, but that's because that sherry is adding viscosity. This one kind of felt like a medium viscosity. This one's a smidge over medium. Really nice. The finish goes on and on. Very complex with the spices on the finish. The sherry notes still driving throughout. This one on the back end, it was kind of left you with the malt and leather. It was kind of just really vibrant, fruity up front. The cinnamon swell on the mid palate, and then the leather and the malt and the oak on the back end, with a little bit of the fruits kind of intermingling, but just not overly complex on the finish. These have that rich sherry to kind of add that complexity on the back end. And they're not so much sherry that you lose the single malt characteristic of Macallan. It's still definitely in there. Oh, yeah, very, very good. Might as well just close the show with the great one, right? So the round label Macallan Cask Strength, 58.6%. Medium high viscosity. This is very, very viscous. Wow. And it's just, right? It's just enveloping the palate. Yeah, you got to take that breath to kind of catch up with it. Yes. So this is intensified here. So just even more sherry, more of those spices, baking spices. It's just phenomenal. Cocoa powder on the back end, roasted nuts, roasted almonds. A little bit of that orange oil I was getting on the nose is kind of coming through on the palate as well. Almost like a very fine, like a Grand Marnier, just a twinge, just a little bit of that in there, in with all that rich sherry and milk and dark chocolate. Oh, that's delicious. All right, so again, do not compare. I didn't know, I'd never done this before, but don't compare this with that. There's two different animals, but don't be afraid to buy it. Okay, if you're looking for that almost cask strength Macallan, this is your only chance to do that. If you can't find this or this, but you're not going to find that other than on secondary. But anyway, thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Keep leaving those great comments. I really appreciate it. Everybody have a great evening, and cheers.